Hi guys, welcome to Code Decode. So as per the request we got, in this video we are scaling a bit up and now we are going to start with the frequently asked interview questions for the second round of the giant companies, where we are mostly asked about the few things like explain the architecture of the application that you have worked upon. So you must know the basic architecture of applications that are actually being created in the IT industry. Then quickly create a CRUD operation using Spring Boot, Hibernate or something in 60 or 120 minutes in front of them. So basically we are going to do this in a live demonstration. Please, it will be great if you do this particular thing with me, so that it will be easy for you to do that in the interview. Secondly, we have always been asked about the global exception handling in Spring, how in Spring you handle exceptions. Then please implement the Spring security end to end in the CRUD that you have done. So this is the few things that we are always asked in the interview questions. After this video, we will cover these complex topics like exception handling and Spring security. Since we have not get enough responses on the structural design pattern series, now we are stopping that particular series and we are starting this series. All the future videos will actually depend on your comments on this video. So the more comments we get on this topic, the more priority we'll give to that particular topic. So please direct us on what you want from us on priority. Also, please like, share and subscribe so that we can make more and more such videos. So let's quickly get started. The first thing that the people will usually ask you in the interviews for the Java as a lateral joinee or as an experienced person, or even as a like fresher, if you join, if they ask you something about the Spring and Hibernate, they'll always ask you explain the architecture of application that you worked upon. So this is one of the most asked interview question. We all work in IT industry where we have a client and we actually serve the requests that client expects us to respond to, and then in return they pay us, right? So basically everything works upon client and server architecture. Client basically requests us to provide some services. Our server is responsible to respond us to that particular services. And everything works upon this network or the internet. Internet is nothing but a network of network. So it's like client requesting to us something and server is responding it back. Our task here in IT industry is to provide the services on the server. Like for example, we are implementing some logic and deploying it on server, and our server is capable enough to send the response back to the client. Mostly the client use our services or the servers using the browsers. So browser is a client for us, and the coding which we do, we deploy it on like Tomcat server, Jetty server. So these servers are capable enough to handle your request. And we deploy that on server, and we deploy that particular thing with a URL on the network, on the internet. So client being on any location in the world is capable enough to give us the request using those URLs, and our server is capable enough to respond it with the logic and the services that we have given. So this is a very high level architecture of any application that you work upon in an IT industry. Hence most of the applications that you work in an IT industry works upon the client server architecture. Let me get into a finer details of these architecture now. You are always asked to explain the layers of your application. So most of the application nowadays are divided into the 3-tier architecture. We do have 1 tier, 2 tier, n tier architectures, but usually many a times the architects of our projects are always adhering to these 3-tier architecture layers in the application. So the first layer is the presentation logic, second is the business logic, and third is the data source. So understand this very importantly, because this client is a browser. So what we do is we write some presentation logic. So suppose in Angular, in HTML, in JSP, anything or everything. This is a presentation logic which is capable enough to interact with the client, to take some input from the client, and is capable enough to show responses to the client. So this is the presentation logic. We are from now onwards, we are modularizing our things. We are delegating the task to one particular thing and expecting it to work properly. And if anything gets disrupted or anything gets down, our task is just to look at that particular logic and leave other two logics working well and fine. So if suppose my form is distorted or the client wants some changes in the user interface you are giving, you don't have to change the server, the business logic deployed on the server. You don't have to update any data in the database server. You just have to update the form which is available in the presentation logic on the client browser. So this is why we are modularizing our things from the client server architecture to these particular 3 layers, that is presentation logic, business logic, and database logic. Now Let's understand these three logics first. Presentation logic, as I've told you, it is the one which is responsible to interact with the client. It is capable enough to take the requests from the client and give the responses to the client. From where this presentation will gets this response from? It gets response from the business logic. So once if client enters some request, the client wants something from you, the request goes to the server or the business logic. Now business logic have the, like in Java or in some language, you implement some logic which is capable enough to handle those requests. Say servlet are capable enough to handle your requests. Say controller are capable enough to have the endpoints available to have those to capture those requests. Now once capturing those requests, the request actually is being processed in this logic. Particular logic is given, and then if you want some data to be refreshed into the database or taken from the database or updated in the database or deleted from the database. So basically CRUD operation is implemented on this particular business logic. Why CRUD? Why I'm saying CRUD? Because CRUD is nothing but create, retrieve, update and delete. In creation, client is expecting you to create something in the database, to put something in database. Say for example, client is expecting you to have a database management system with like for an employee. They want to maintain their employees in a particular way. They want a form where you just enter your employee information and it should be, your server should be capable enough to have that entry saved in your database. So it wants you to have a employee created, so employee should be in the database. It wants you to retrieve all the employees or one employee on the basis of ID. Then we do the retrieve operation. Then U is for update. So why U? So maybe client wants you to update any employee in the database, update the name, update the phone number, update the address, anything that you should do in the server of the database. Then you use the update operation. And delete, say suppose somebody puts papers and they are resigning and then you want to delete that employee from your complete management system. Then the client will ask you to have a delete operation. So basically all the transactions you do in this IT world is actually divided into only and only 4 transactions. That is create, update, retrieve and delete. Only and only these. Most of the requests that client will do for the data will always be on these 4 things: creation, updation, deletion or retrieval. Only and only those 4. That is why our third layer is divided into these basic CRUD operations. Now this was all about the 3-tier architecture of the applications that we work upon usually. Now let's get further into this. This is from the client perspective. So the client is thinking there must be something which is a presentation logic where I will work upon. There will be something that the people who I am paying to, like we people, clients are paying to us, they will have something on the servers, and then there must be something called as database where they are putting all the data into. And even we will get money if database is actually giving us a costlier in terms of money, then we will ask that money also from the client. So basically client has the view for these 3 things mostly. But when it comes to us, the IT people, we are actually dividing all the logic we are deploying on the server in 3 major parts. And what are the 3 major parts in which we divide the business logic on server? That is controller, business and DAO. This is for we people. This is for the IT people who handles these requests from the client, who is capable enough to write the logic at the business layer and who is capable enough to get or retrieve all the data from the database server using a DAO layer. So basically these are the 3 layers which are on the server, that is controller layer, business layer and DAO layer. Controller layer is the one which is only and only going to have one responsibility, that is to accept a request from the client and delegate that particular thing to the required business layer, which will do your business logic, like validation of the thing. And suppose it wants you to create something, so it will validate whether the ID is not null, whether the address is given is in the right format, whether the phone number is of 9 digits. Everything, every business logic is done in this layer, and then once it is validated, the request is sent to the DAO layer, where they will send the request to the server, say please save this into the database. Once it is saved, the DAO layer will give you a response, yes it is saved. Controller will say yes it is saved, and controller will send the response to the presentation logic. Congratulations client, you have your employee saved in the database. So this is the very high level of architecture, where we have a client server architecture initially, then it is further divided into the 3 layers. Presentation layer is capable enough to contact with the client. the service layer or the business logic on the server, like web server called as like Tomcat, Jetty, anything, and a database, server database, which is a real database, a physical entity where your data actually resides. Then on a very high level, which is actually not actually related to clients, it is related to we people. Basically, we divide the business logic in three parts: the controller, business, and DAO layer. Okay. Controller capable enough to handle requests from here, DAO capable enough to interact with the server databases, and business layer is the important layer which is required by controller and DAO to interact in as a middleware where all the business logic which we are expecting to be deployed on the server is written. So never write a business logic in controller, never write any interaction with the database in business logic. Only they have fixed defined work to do, and please do not merge both, because if in case in future if you have anything which is wrong in the business logic, they want that please do not do validations on address, just save it how I am giving. You don't have to go to controller, you don't have to go to DAO layer, you just have to see the business layer. And this is how your life is actually getting easier by implementing these modularity in the architectural level. So whenever you see, almost all the applications in IT world have at least this much distinctions, that the layers are actually divided at least in 3 layers. Now in the interview they might ask you about the more important things, like how do you do exception handling in these 3 things. So it's a very standardized way in IT industry how you handle exceptions in controller layer, business layer, DAO layer, which will be seen further in this video. If you let me know in the comment section, if you want to know about that, please let me know in the comment section, else we won't touch those particular things. We'll quickly move ahead to how do we actually create a Spring and Hibernate project from scratch. So in this video, quickly I'm going to show you how to create a CRUD operation from scratch. We don't have anything. So if you can see, I do not have anything here. I'm going to create a particular thing for you from the scratch. So if you want to do that, please I'll suggest you to do that quickly with me, so that you will have confidence in interview to do that alone. Now go to the okay, so you don't have to do anything. You just have to go to STS, click new, click Spring Starter Project. Here I'm giving the name of my Spring Starter project. The name is like, say suppose code, decode, CRUD, end to end basically. So CRUD, that's enough for my project name. Now I'm doing code, decode, demo. This is perfect. This is a demonstration for Spring Boot and Hibernate. This is not necessary, it's just a description, just for the viewing purpose. Make sure you have Java 8, make sure you have jar packaging and Maven, and the language is Java. Let me quickly do it for the next. Now this is a very important part. You should know that what type of application you are constructing. If you are constructing an application which is end to end, which is capable enough to have a controller to accept your request, capable enough to put something into DAO, and capable also enough to have the Lombok and everything, you should know it in front here. So you should always use Spring Data JPA. That is why I am taking this particular dependency, because I want to connect with my database and I want to put everything into my database, retrieve from database. So basically database interaction is required. So that is why Spring Data JPA, which is basically the inbuilt JPA is used. This is a dependency which is used for Spring Boot. Spring Web, because I want to use a controller which is capable enough to handle my request. Then MySQL driver. Why MySQL driver? Because I want that I should have a connection between my project and the MySQL. So basically driver is the one who is the interfacing between the project and the physical database. So driver is capable enough to bridge that particular thing for me. I also want Lombok. I have already covered Lombok in the previous video. The link to the description for the Lombok will be given in the description below. Now you just have to implement these particular things. Lombok is not necessary for you, you can ignore it, but for me I take it because this makes my code look really small, and my source code, the length of the source code actually reduces a lot with the Lombok. So I always prefer using Lombok, and I will suggest you to do that. Spring Data JPA to use to whatever entities I create, it will make those particular entities capable enough to be saved into the database. A MySQL driver to connect to my physical database, my entities to be stored into the database. Driver is the interface between them. Spring Web to be able to create a particular controller and all those a particular project which is capable enough to handle all the requests. I'll quickly do next and I will do finish. So I'm expecting that my project is created. If I can go into my pom.xml, let me see if all things are there in it or not. So I can see its version is perfect. I can see that Spring Boot starter data JPA is there, which is capable enough to handle the database operations, capable enough to handle the incoming requests. My connector is also there so that I can connect with my database. Lombok is also there so that I don't have to write getters and setters, and when I try to print an object, the hash code should not be printed. I'll use a particular annotation for that. Then Spring Boot starter. Basically I don't want it, but that's fine. Okay, so that's all I have. This is a perfect thing I can have. Now I'll quickly do run as Maven install. Okay, is it getting success? Quickly test that also before you start your working on that. So no, this is not a success for me. It says, okay, it says test failure. So basically I don't want a test package here. I'll delete my test package and I will delete my dependency. See, I said I don't want a test at all. So always delete these. If you don't want to write the JUnits, I'll tell you how to write the JUnits and all. But in the later videos, currently we're just seeing how to create a particular project with just 3 things. That is a controller, connection with the Hibernate, and how do you handle those, the business logic. So it says business success for me. I'm not doing the JUnits right now, but I'll surely do that in the next video for you. Now quickly I'll do Maven update so that all the dependencies are there with me. If you want another video why Maven install is done, why Maven update is done, this is a different thing because it's all related to Maven. It's not related to what we are trying to do now. Let me know in the comment section. I'll create another video for that also. Now I'll quickly clean. There might be, like when I was in your period, when I was very small, when I just entered the IT industry, I always wondered why do we do Maven update? Why do we do Maven clean? Why do we do Maven build? Why do we do Maven install? Why do we do clean project? And then abruptly and miraculously my things started working. So if you have that doubt, please let me know in the comment section. I've been there, I've done that. I'll be sure that I'll be able to make you understand that quickly. Okay, so everything is clear to me. Now let me go into my demo. I have this particular application ready. So let's get back to the PPT first. Okay, so we have created a STS starter project with Spring Boot starter JPA, starter web, MySQL driver, Lombok and everything. We have modified the Java version according to us. Now, how to create a Hibernate project from scratch. So first of all, since you know that we have added a dependency of MySQL driver, we should have something called as the URL, username, password and dialects and auto. This is basically related to Hibernate. I've covered this in the previous video in the Hibernate interview questions. If you want to cover it again, please let me know in the comment section. I'll clear all those things again for you. Now we're going to add these properties in the property file so that this application is capable enough to connect to my database. So I'll be having the databases here. My table is completely empty right now. Let me see if it is empty. Yes, this table is completely empty. So this is localhost 3306, database is code decode. So let me quickly do this for you. Let me go to where would you put this? I've already told you where you should put these things. You should always put these in the application.properties. I've covered this in the Spring interview questions if you remember. So here what we have done, we have connected to localhost 3306. Can you see this is localhost 3306 and the database name is code decode. So yes, my database name is code decode. The password and this should also be encrypted. Currently I'm not doing that because in 60 minutes you cannot do that all. You have to quickly do everything. So these are the properties that you should add. This is the dialect, Hibernate dialect. This is the auto update. So whenever we try to create a particular entity, already the DLL is update. Now once this is in place and this is saved, my particular application is capable enough to connect with the database. Now after doing that, what you should do as the first thing, you should always create a new package. And remember one thing, I want to create entities now. Entities are what? Which are those classes which are capable enough to be saved into the databases, right? So I have this entity package now. Remember, do not make changes to this. Why I am saying this? Many of the times people do this mistake. They make a different package where they have the main application. They make the packages a different. They don't make those packages a child package of the parent package. If you want to make a child package, just put a dot and like append your package name. Do not try to modify this. This is how you make your package a parent of the main parent package. If you do that, I'll tell you what happens. See, in this particular, you have @Spring Boot annotation. So this annotation is a mixture of these many annotations. In this annotation, can you see component scan? You understand this, that component scan is the one annotation which is capable enough to scan all the packages, which is the current package and the child packages. For what? For the beans. So it searches for @controller, @component, @service, @repositories. Only and only the child packages and the current packages scanned for creating the entities and beans. If you don't do that, if you change the package, you don't make this package a child package of this, your controller or service or the repository will not become a bean and will not be handled by the Spring controller, Spring. Then what will happen? IOC will not find this particular bean into you, and it will give you an exception that that particular entity is not found. Please try to annotate it with something. So always give this this particular package a child package of whatever you give as a parent package. Now in this, I'm trying to create an entity. So let me say that employee is my entity. Okay, now if employee is my entity, what all packages, what all annotations should I do or put on this class to make this an entity, a POJO, which is capable enough to be stored into the database? So first I have to tell them, please make it an entity first. So yes, I have made it an entity. Now secondly, what I need to do? I need to create it as a table and give a name to this table. So the table name is say suppose employee. So in this, if I don't give this as an EMP, what will happen? So what will happen if I don't give table name as this? Then what will happen? The entity will be created as a table into the database, but the by default name of that particular database table will be employee and not what you want it to be. So if you're good with having the default name as employee, don't give the name to it, else you have to give. Then I will expect us to have at least 2 attributes into it. So say suppose I want a private long and say ID, and I want name also private. For the time being, I want only 2 attributes to be a part of my class. Now I want to make this as an ID, so I'll make it as ID. But I don't want to get a particular value of this ID from the people. I want this to be auto generated. So I'll create it as a generated value, and I want this to be generated automatically. So I'll use strategy as generation type. Now do you wonder what this generation type is all about? This generation type and everything is nothing but a way to create a value which is auto generated. If you want to know about this and you want to know all about these annotations, let me know in the comment section. I'll create a separate video only and only for these annotations which you use in this project to make your project work worthwhile. So this is how you make your ID capable enough to generate its value on its own, and you don't have to depend on anybody to give a particular unique ID number to your employee. Now with this, I also want that I should have getters and setters. So since it is, see, if I haven't used this earlier, I was getting a particular error, say the value is never used. So if I use getter, then this error goes because I do have a getter here. Now even I want setter, so I have a setter also here. Now with this, I have my getters and setters in place. These two are because of Lombok. We have the Lombok settled in this project. If you don't know how to settle the Lombok into your project, please see the description below. There is a link to how to enable the Lombok in your project. If you still find an issue, let me know in the comment section. I'll do it again for you. So this is my entity which is completely ready, and this is capable enough to be stored into the database. Now I'll quickly create a controller for you. So I need a package for that, and this will be a controller. Now in controller, I'm going to create a new class, say code decode controller. In this, we are going to have a REST controller, which is capable enough to make my class ready to accept the requests. @request mapping, this is completely optional, but I still use it. If I have multiple controllers, it will be good for me to manage using the request mapping. So suppose code. Now here the code will go where I'll use a particular open-ended API where I'll have a get request, a post request, a delete request, and I'll have a auto wired service layer. Service layer is going to have the logic, and then service layer is going to have a auto wired repository where repository is going to connect to the database. So let me quickly create those packages also for you. So first quickly create the packages for yourself, so that at least if you don't have time enough to explain what happens, he will understand, or the interviewer will understand that at least you know how to architect your particular application. So basic architecture you should first create and then start coding. Now code decode service. This is just, or I should give some proper name. So employee service. Even it should be employee controller, because I'm doing everything related to employee. So MSC is employee controller, and I should create one repository also. So new package num.repository. Repos is going to contain multiple repositories. In repository, what I need an interface. Repository always extends the JPA repository, so you should always create an interface. Say employee repo, employee CRUD repo. Okay, this is going to be my repository, so it should be annotated with repository. Is that clear? If this is a repository, it should extend JPA repository, and it's going to work on my employee, and the ID for that is long. That's right. Okay, my repository is created. My service is still remaining to be created. So how I want my service to be, it should be @service. Sorry. These annotations. Okay, one more important thing from the interview perspective: @service, @repository, @entity, @REST controller. Everything is going to make one thing, which is going to create a bean. So even if you put @component here, your code will work perfectly fine. This is just a fancy thing to make understand the code as readable code, and people will understand that service logic will be written in this particular layer. So what I will do now, I'll quickly go into my repository. Now I want to create a particular say method to fetch all the employees. So let me first try and make this application run for you. So let's see whether it's running or not, because we keep on creating, and if that doesn't run, then it doesn't make any sense, right? So let's see if this runs. Okay, let me make it large for you. Okay, so it says that yes, it is starting the engine, and the Tomcat started, and the port is also given. So never get confused like on what port my Tomcat server is started. If you want to modify that port number, you have already told you in the previous video in the spring interview questions. So this is started on port number 8080. Now since it has started, let me see if I can code here, and I can see whether my controller is working or not. So I want a GAT mapping just for checking. Okay, so let's see public. I want a list of employee. Okay, first import list. of Java util, and then employee. Yes, now I get my employee, and say get all employees please. This is not going to take anything because I want a response. I don't want to give you anything in the request. So when I do get all employee, I say getting all employees. Okay, and what I should do, I should auto wire. Say suppose currently what you should do, you should always navigate through service and then service through repository. But currently I don't know whether everything is working fine or not. So first of all, you should always test whether things are working fine or not, and then try to put interior details to your application. So first auto wire your repository here. Employee CLUD repository. Currently I am doing this. Now from this I am trying to find all. Simple. And I am going to return this because it is expecting a list of all employees, and it does return the list of all employees. So find all is an inbuilt method of the JPA repository. If you want to see, I'll show you. If you go into this, find all is already implemented into the repository, and it's the inbuilt method of this particular thing. So let me see if this thing works or not. So if this thing is working, even from my browser, I'll be capable enough to hit this particular controller. So let's see if, let me debug this for you. Right click debug, Spring Boot app. Now I know it started on which port, 8080. So I'll try localhost 8080 slash, what is my controllers API, slash code, slash code, enter. See, I don't want to switch. My actually control goes to this place and it says getting all employees. So is it written? Yes, things are working fine for me, and once it is done, I should get a response. So I'm waiting for my response right now. Okay, I don't want anything. So this is currently empty. Why is this empty? Because I should have my table created here and that table should be empty. So let me refresh this for you. So now you can see that our tables is not empty anymore. It has tables into it. So let's see what tables are created. So there are two tables created. So now you will ask me, there was only one table. We have @entity only on one table. So we have this only at one table. What is this sequence? What is this Hibernate sequence which is created? So this is nothing but we have written @ID and generated value. So we are depending on Hibernate to generate the primary key values for this. So this is why this new table is created, which is the Hibernate sequence, which says next value will be what. When the employee table, when you fill it, the next sequence will be obtained from this particular sequence number. So if this is clear, because this particular thing is empty, we are getting nothing out of it. So let me quickly see if I can add something for you so that you can say that your controller is working fine. So this is my controller's get method. So if I try to add manually into it something for you, so let me add a row. Let me say 1 and employee is code decode. Okay, if I save it. Now you can see that my first ID code decode is entered as an employee into this table. Now should I see whether my server is running? Yes, my server is up and running. So let me quickly hit localhost 8080/code. So see, I have added ID1 and code decode, and hence I can say that yes, my controller is working perfectly fine and my find all is working perfectly fine. All the employee objects that was into this is actually getting mapped into this. So this was the main structure. So always remember this in an interview, that whenever anybody would ask you to do this, so first of all, create a project the way I have told you. Go into this, create a new project, Spring Starter project, select the 4 type of dependencies that I have told you. What all dependencies that I have told you? The 4 dependencies were, let me tell you in the pom.xml. The first one was the starter JPA to connect with the database. This is the web to connect with the Tomcat, to have the Tomcat into it, embedded one, and to have the controller and everything. The dependency for connecting to the MySQL, this is a connector, this is a driver. Lombok, it's completely optional. I prefer it using. Then create, if you're connecting to database, see, always we forget to connect with the database. So what I prefer to do, the first part is to connect with the database. How do you connect to the database? These are the properties. I've already explained these in the previous videos. Then what you should do first, you should create an entity which is capable enough to be stored into your database, and all your controller, repository, services, everything works with around this particular entity. Secondly, what you should always do, you should create a controller, a temporary request mapping and REST controller, to see whether these are actually being created or not for you. If REST controller is not getting imported, then there is something wrong with your pom.xml. If everything is fine, then just run the maven install, maven update, and once this is available, create an auto-wired repository, where your repository should have extended the JPA repository, which will have inbuilt methods for me. See, this particular thing is empty. It's just that I have extended, and my find all is working perfectly fine for me. See, I have my thing here. Also, you can use Postman. So I'll tell you how to use a Postman. So this is my localhost 8080. st:8080/code was my request mapping. So if I send this, see, I get my response in the JSON form. This is my JSON form where ID is 1 and name is code decode, but this is an array format. So this is application/JSON, but it is an array format because we are passing a list. If you can see, this is a list. So this is how you test your things. Don't try and hurry yourself into creating whole the structure and then testing it. It won't work for you. If it doesn't work, everything is lost. So first of all, create all the packages, then create a controller, employee, and the repository, and see if one out of one CRUD at least create or get is working fine for you. If that is working fine, you can proceed further. This video is already too long. I'll cover all the CRUDs and the exception handling in the next video. So thank you.